Fair.
And we have liftoff of the first ever Sports Shuffle video podcast, whatever the heck you want to call it. How are you doing? I'm Joel Verlin here, Tampa Motor Mouth, along with
Flying Ryan Gilchrist here with you. We have the handy name tags on the bottom in case you're not used to the faces, even though you might be used to our names or our voices so far. So hopefully that helps. And let's go.
In case you're ever wondering, it's like, what do these goofs look like?
We do apologize in advance. We're sorry you're disappointed, ladies.
I know. I know.
I just assume, at least.
I know it's true because we were yakking about all the crazy things, and then I think even though it's playoffs, it's hockey. Bolts are ahead 1-0. Rays just fell behind 2-1. Boom. Even though Forsyth had the home run, they just boo. Just I tell you, I don't know. Hockey. I wanted to bring up first, even though the Bolts are doing wicked awesome. I wanted to bring up the whole crazy thing in Baltimore because that was surreal. I mean, just absolutely surreal. And I kind of had a feeling something was happening because I know the week before it was with the Red Sox and the Orioles that everyone was locked down in Camden Yards. I mean, all of a sudden it's like the game was over and it was extra innings, but then nobody could leave.
Yeah, they locked him in because it wasn't safe to leave, and then a couple days later put the curfew on where if you had a game that started at 7, the game would end after the curfew. So in all reality, you couldn't have a game. You couldn't have people come and be at your stadium because they'd be home by 9 o'clock. And then, of course, they had what's probably the most insane thing in sports is the game with no fans.
Yeah, did you see like the highlight of the ball that was still left in the place when one of the Orioles hit it because nobody scrambled after to get it?
Nobody could scramble to get it. And then
I think that was Chris Davis.
I think so too. But then you also had, the players had some fun with it, doing the fake autographs, doing the curtain calls out in center field, throwing the ball into the stands. There's nobody there. So at least they took it as, hey, I'm still going to have fun. I'm still going to play this game. Which is a good thing because there are some players that just don't do that. But it was just crazy when you could hear, if you watch any of the highlights, you can hear the other announcers or the players so clearly. I mean, they also said the managers, when they called the bullpen, which is across the outfield, of course, they're right by the baselines, you could actually hear the phone ring out there.
That's quiet.
That's something you never hear, even if you're right next to the bullpen in a baseball game, let alone in your own dugout.
I know, because it's crazy. And then, did you see the one? There's one YouTube video where one of the Oriole announcers was doing his imitation of calling the baseball game as if he was calling a golf match.
Yeah, and it was very appropriate because it was silent, just like a golf match. You don't expect to hear that at a professional sporting event. That's not golf or maybe even tennis. Imagine going to a hockey game or a football game and just being silent. It just doesn't make sense. Baseball's a lot along the same lines.
No, I don't know. I think it got pretty silent at most Buccaneer home games during the fourth quarter this year.
I can't blame them. It also got quiet in Montreal at game 2. That was a little bit like the Baltimore silence.
Did you see somebody ended up making it was one of the memes where they took pacifiers and they ended up photoshopping the Montreal Canadiens logo onto the pacifiers like burn. I loved it. I loved it. I know.
Yeah, hopefully things in Baltimore go back to normal. I mean, it was crazy having the home series for Baltimore in Tampa the last weekend, something that they did actually very well with. They won 2 out of 3, something that Rays fans like yourself and myself we're not happy with, but hey, it's going to happen. So hopefully everything's going back to normal, and it's starting to, but hopefully the events surrounding it will improve. The baseball game, in all reality, is not very important compared to all the rest of it.
Yeah, because it's just sort of a reminder, as much as we take sport, you and I and other people who are of like minds, that we're absolute sports nuts, we're fanatics. It's like, what's the score? If you're not watching the game, you're checking the phone, you're checking your score, checking to see how bad your fantasy football team did that particular week, especially this year.
Oh yeah, you had a terrible year.
Yeah, I know. 16-team leagues bite. But as much as we're crazy sports fanatics, when you have the events, when you have all the craziness in Baltimore, it just sometimes reminds you how all of a sudden, as a center stage all sports are, that in the blink of an eye, something can make sports take a back seat to life. It's just, it just almost sort of tend to remind me of what ended up happening after 9/11. Just all, football, baseball, everyone just took a break and just a solemn reminder of reality sometimes and why it is we like to escape so much into sports.
Yeah, sports is a microcosm of society, and it's such an important part of our culture, but it's not the most important thing. And I think you and I, even though we're sports nuts, understand that for you, if the Lightning win the Stanley Cup, or if they're the 30th place team, you still get up, you have to go to work, you still have to live your life, and that's what comes first. And as much as we're getting a little too real, let's talk some sports because that's what we are. We are the sports shuffle, not the downers from political conflict amongst races due to police in certain areas podcast. We're the sports shuffle. So let's talk a little sports show.
Yeah, I know, because that's the whole reason I ended up getting into sports, loving sports talk radio was because in 2001, what ended up happening. Because if you end up listening to the radio enough, flying, you're like you thought, oh my God, it's like the whole world, we're all going to perish and everything, and I end up stumbling onto 620 at the time, and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, sports talk radio, because I think it was just being born, just kind of coming into its own as a genre, and all of a sudden you're just like, ooh, this is cool. Some hosts you like, some hosts you hated, but it's just a fun way to just sort of escape into stuff. You're at work, you can kind of escape, and I'll tell you, I'm sure definitely everyone up in Baltimore and across the whole nation, because whenever you turn on the news, it's like it's like you want to switch the channel. It's like, is there a game or something on? But I tell you, just baseball with everything craziness this year. I mean, you had the whole Josh Hamilton craziness saga and all that stuff, and then you have Alex Rod. This would definitely fall under give a crap, don't give a crap. I think it would definitely be a don't give a crap. The whole A-Rod, will they pay him? Won't you pay him? I mean, who do you root for? Who's the villain? Is A-Rod the villain or Yankees the villain? I mean, that would be hard to root for or against in that situation.
Yeah, it's hard to root for either one of them. As a Rays fan, you can't root for the Yankees. As a baseball and sports fan, you can't root for A-Rod. He's the epitome of what is wrong in sports. He's a cheater, he's a liar, and he's overpaid for it. And now, they have this big conflict going on about whether or not he's going to get paid when he breaks this tie with Willie Mays for fourth, which kind of a weak thing to get paid for if you think about it. Maybe when you pass Aaron, Bonds, even 714 for Ruth. I don't know, but when you're just passing fourth place, 660, maybe not a big deal to get paid. But the guy's made hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's not forget that he's been paid. So I really don't care if he gets paid for this milestone, as they want to call it. Hopefully, it just doesn't go to court again, because I'm tired of hearing about A-Rod suing people and A-Rod going to court over crap that he's already done wrong to begin with. If they want to pay him, pay him. If it's in the contract, they should pay him, because that's what it's there for. You're not supposed to be, getting out of contract because, you don't feel like paying him because the guy was a jerk. A-Rod's a jerk. You've already paid a bunch of money. Follow the contract. Even though I don't like the guy, if it's in the contract, you're stuck.
And since we're kind of talking milestones, even though I know Yankees PR would not want me to use that word, but milestones, it kind of, if you don't mind if I call a quick sports shuffle audible here with an impromptu question.
Okay.
And since we're talking Hall of Fame and everything, it sort of would be interesting to get your whole perspective, since Manfred, you have the new commish, and all that is the famous or infamous, depending upon your viewpoint, the Pete Rose issue. I'm kind of curious. I don't know if this is something we've ever talked about before or not. What your whole stance on should he be back in the Hall of Fame? Should there be conditions? And then I'll sort of tell you, my point of view, even though I think you probably might know that already. But just kind of curious as to what's your whole take on that. On the seemingly endless Pete Rose story that never seems to go away.
Yeah, well, as far as the Hall of Fame goes, that's a separate issue than the reinstatement at all. As far as the Hall of Fame goes, it should be up to the Hall of Fame when they let him win. The writers who make the voting. I think he should be eligible because he's a hits leader. Yeah, he did something stupid off the field, but his playing career, don't let him in based on his managerial career, but his playing career before he was betting on stuff, let him be eligible. The writers will make it however they want to make it, and to be fair that way. And knowing the writers, the way it seems like they don't want to they want to punish everybody long after the transgression is done, they won't vote him in. So that's not an issue. Let him be on the ballot. Don't vote him in. Problem solved. He's not in. As far as the reinstatement, I think a partial reinstatement would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen. Where he can be maybe an advisor or a batting, assistant, not a coach, not a manager, not, upper management, but somebody who's maybe goes to the charity events, can do the photo ops, All-Star game. He's that big name guy that comes out that's the hometown hero for this year, for example. But as far as actually being integrated into what happens with the team, probably not the best time. Not yet.
So
probably not ever.
Oh, so you're thinking along the lines of me that even though you're thinking he shouldn't be punished anymore, I tend to think that if it's a lifetime ban, it should be a lifetime ban. If you break one of the Longo just had a solo shot. Awesome. If you end up breaking one of the cardinal rules of baseball that you're not supposed to break, that's in all of the clubhouses. If it's a lifetime ban, it's a lifetime ban. Although I honestly forget who it was that said it, but it was a podcast I was listening to where they said that put him in as a player, as you just alluded to, put him as a player, but that somehow it needs to be denoted on his plaque or whatever that the actions that happened as a manager happened. So he's in, but it's a sort of a conditional in. He's in, but he's also kind of out.
The Hall of Fame will have its own stipulations. They'll do it the way they want to do it. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to figure out what to do with him, whether or not just put an asterisk next to it saying, hey, currently banned from Major League Baseball. I think the Hall of Fame is its own entity. They're going to make their own decision. But again, the writers who vote for it, they're not going to put him in if they don't want him in. That's just how it's going to be. But as far as breaking the Cardinal rule, he never bet on his team to lose. He only bet on his team to win from everything I've been told. At that point, is he affecting the game? If he was betting on his team to lose and they lost that night, I could see a lot more. Betting on a team to win every night, maybe it's a little weak, but I guess I see it. But there's part of me that goes, you bet on a team to win. If you are an athlete or a coach, you're going to go into every game thinking you're going to win. And if he wants to waste his money on his team when they're maybe not going to win, so be it. That's up to him.
All right, so you think he should be part of one of his personas should be in, but the other persona should not be in.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a Hall of Fame worthy manager as it was. He would only be able to get in because he's the all-time hits leader in baseball, which oddly enough, he is the record holder even though he's banned. So it's kind of weird there. You think if he's banned, he'd be stricken from the record books as well, but he's not.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is who has more of a chance of getting in the Hall of Fame eventually sometime, A-Rod or Pete Rose?
It's hard to say. I don't see a lot of people from this era of steroids getting in at all. I think it's going to be largely pitching that gets in this time. A lot of maybe the older players like Jeter who were never associated with it. But you're not going to see these Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and A-Rod get in. It's just not going to happen.
All right, so we sort of shift from baseball to football as I'm a Bucks fan. Okay, bases loaded, Kevin Kiermaier at the bat. So hopefully the Outlaw can do something. So this is what happens when you're doing a sports podcast and sports are going on. You're interested in what is transpiring.
Yep.
As we transfer from baseball over to football because I'm a Bucks fan, and I'm end up conflicted because talent wise, the Bucks may have indeed drafted a franchise player, but the whole thing is you have character, you have the integrity, you have how he presents himself. Of course, I'm talking about Jameis Winston. And I mean, even the very first night that he was drafted flying. I mean, there was already some flap. I mean, I know some people can be like, well, it's harmless. He was just poking a little fun. He was just kind of throwing some stuff back at the trolls that were after him and all that stuff. But I don't know. It's like, did he really get off on the right foot with the whole posting the crab legs picture and what he had for dinner? Because the whole thing about the picture is you look at the woman who's in the picture. I mean, what is her face? Does her face not say, "Are you really doing this?" I mean, unless I'm misinterpreting the picture, that face looks like if you've ever seen the dog on the internet, like really, like that expression, like really. Didn't we talk about this? You're doing this anyway?
Yeah.
Really?
If I thought it was funny. Now, that being said, I thought it was a bad idea. I thought it was in poor taste. But I thought it was funny. I think I understood at least where he was coming from. That he was coming from a place of, look, this is what happened. You guys are freaking out. I don't have these problems. This is me saying I'm over it. It's not a big deal. Let's move on. But to do it on draft night, maybe not the best time. I think we'll see more of the crab-like stuff down the line. I wouldn't be surprised if, when he gets to mini camp or training camp, you might start seeing his new teammates mess with him with crab legs and stuff like that. I could see that.
But do you think that since Derek Brooks is going to be his mentor, that he can kind of set him on the straight path? Because actually somebody else I was talking to ended up saying that, well, now he's coming to the NFL. Don't you think that a whole lot more stuff? Because if it's college, you can kind of bury it under the figurative rug. You can kind of make it disappear, and so on and so forth. But when you're in the football league, you're gonna have more people out there that want to be reporters and want to break stories and find dirt and get stuff out there, just because that's the age that we live in.
Yeah, it's more basic media blitz in the NFL because in college, you have your practices for, I think it's 15, 20 hours a week at most. You have your classes. You have everything else going on that you're not always in the public eye. With the NFL, you're going to be followed, period. He's just going to be followed, and people are going to look at him. People are going to follow him, take the pictures, take the video. They're going to see everything he does on and off the field. And if he does something stupid, it's going to break instantly. It's not going to be one of those things where, back 10, 12 years ago, all right, you don't hear about it for weeks, and then it comes out, oh yeah, April 17th, today's May 6th, so April 17th, this guy was in a hit and run accident. Oh, now we just found out. It's not going to be like that. So if he does anything stupid, it's the end of him. I honestly think he's on that side of the leash when he goes to Tampa, that when he does something stupid, he's done.
So it's like, never mind 3 strikes, how about like 1 strike or maybe even a half a strike?
I will say this, if it's a serious allegation or serious transgression, 1 strike. If it's something small like the crab legs thing, probably he'll get a second one, but I don't see him getting even 2 small ones. But it would have to be something fairly minor for him to get 2.
Because it's like, because talent-wise, but it's just, once again, the whole character and the whole integrity thing, and that's why it's I want to root for the Bucks. I'm a Buccaneers. I'm still a Buccaneers fan. It's amazing, as I'm sure you've probably seen on social media, Ryan, just people like, oh, I'm never spending another dollar on any Buccaneers jersey again. Oh, I'm throwing this out. I'm not going to any games because of the Winston thing, and it's something that I disagree with, but I can't stop rooting for from my team because of one player. But on the other hand, I'm very surprised. I really wish they would have gone the route of Marcus Mariota. I mean, even if he's a little bit shy with the press and all that, Tampa really isn't a big market community, really big market team like a New York or a Los Angeles. And I think he would have had time and space to grow. And it's just, I know unless there's something I'm totally missing, he seems to be a lot less of a risk.
He's a lot less of a risk off the field. As far as on the field, I don't think either one of them is going to be a great pro. I don't think their game is going to translate. Jameis Winston, all the turnover problems his second year at Florida State. He got embarrassed by an Oregon defense that's frankly not known for its defense. Oregon's an offensive school, and then they got destroyed by Ohio State. So I don't know how good of a defense that was. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he had a lot of turnover problems. You can't argue with his record. He won a lot of games, all but one, but he had the turnover problems. Marcus Mariota, typical Oregon quarterback. He's just not going to translate to the pros. He's too much of a running quarterback. He doesn't have the best arm. He's got too much stuff to still develop, and at some point you have to be a pocket passer with a great arm to be a truly great quarterback in the league. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. You don't see them running around like crazy people. If they have to, they will. Aaron Rodgers can run probably, besides you look at Cam Newton, probably as well as anybody in the league right now. But that's not what their game is. They sit in the pocket. They make the good pass. They make the pass that's going to get them the first down, keep the receivers safe. And that's what you have to be. And I don't know if Marcus Mariota can do that. But like I said, I don't think either one of them is going to be a great pro prospect. I personally think that the Packers got the best. When it's all said and done, the best quarterback from this draft is going to be Brett Hundley, who went to the Packers from UCLA in the 5th round. I think he's honestly going to be the best one. But I don't expect big things from Mariota or Winston, although one of them will likely start 1-0 because they played each other week 1.
Yeah, I know, because especially when I saw that the Bucs are going to start Winston out right away. So you think there might be a little bit of hype surrounding that game?
There'd be a little bit of hype, but anybody who pays attention to it is an idiot, or they're going to be Bucs or Titans fans, of course. But if SportsCenter or Fox Sports 1 or whoever wants to make this game a big deal between the two worst teams in football last year, by all means, try it and watch nobody see the game. They'll get blacked. Well, they got rid of the blackout rule. The rest of it would have gotten blacked out. I'm not sure where the game is, but I'm sure nobody's going to care because nobody cares about the two teams because they both suck. You can't be 2-14 against 2-14 and have too much hype. Yes, it's the number 1 versus the number 2 overall pick in their debuts, we think, because you never know injuries and all that other stuff. But at the same time, they're two really bad teams. How much hype can you get? One of these teams is going to start the season with half as many wins they had all of last year. Tune in and see who it is.
All right, and two audible questions kind of based off of everything that we just ended up talking about. Audible question number 1 is, we chortled this year, you and I and everybody else, with how bad the NFC South is. So who the heck do you see coming out of the NFC South again this year? I mean, do the Bucs have a shot just because, once again, everyone sucks? Or
if they're all that bad again, the Bucs do have a shot. However, that being said, I don't know how you can go against teams like New Orleans or Atlanta. They have the pieces in place, you would think, with the great quarterbacks. Although I almost want to lean towards Carolina because they've got 2 in a row. Even though they were bad last year, they have the thing that wins, and it's called a defense. New Orleans, not a great defense. Tampa probably has the second best defense in that division, but they have no offense. They have no continuity on the offensive side, so they have no shot unless the division is exactly as bad as it was last year. Atlanta, not a great defense, not a great offense, but they have good pieces. They don't make sense. If they play the way they can, pick Atlanta, period. If not, I would go with Carolina. But I can see Tampa Bay making a couple big wins, maybe knocking off the Panthers, knocking off the Saints. Not sure who you guys are playing for a division this year yet. I'm not one of those schedule nerds that goes, oh my God, I know everybody's schedule the day it comes out. But, okay, I know you guys are playing the Colts. You're playing the Titans. Maybe you beat the Colts or something. It's one of those, eye-opener kind of wins. But as far as a legit winning your division, unless the winner's going to be 7-9 again, let's ease the brakes. You don't have a good quarterback. You don't have a good team yet. You're working, but you're still at least a couple years off. And that's if Winston is any good, which I'm not convinced of.
Yeah, I would have to say either the Panthers or the Falcons just kind of coming out with Drew Brees' window of opportunity, getting slower, trading away Graham. There's one less target for him. The Panthers, who's left actually to help run the ball, because didn't they cut like both of their stalwart running backs that have been there forever? So just kind of craziness with that. But definitely would have to go with Carolina or with the Falcons. And if you're ready for the second audible question I want to toss your way.
All right, go ahead.
Of course, we all know Chip Kelly's craziness, and of course there was allegedly a rumored crazy trade. Crazy trade that with a whole bunch of players and picks that allegedly was offered to the Bucs that the Bucs did not bite on and still ended up getting Winston anyway. So I'm going to take your business acumen, put you as Chip Kelly. Who do you start as quarterback with the chess pieces you currently have? Your gambit to get your dream quarterback failed miserably. Who the heck do you start?
All right. So your options, and we're going to assume everybody's healthy because Sam Bradford's coming off the knee injuries. I think Sanchez had a couple little things, and Tebow's been sitting on the couch for the last year and a half. So between those three, we're going to assume they're all healthy. And I don't know if anybody follows our Facebook page where I found the stat from ESPN. Basically, these are three of the bottom 5 QBR quarterbacks in the NFL over the last 5 years.
Made up stat.
It's a made up stat. I'll agree. But if you look at quarterback rating, it's probably not far off. These are 3 not so good quarterbacks. Bradford's by far the best one, but he's going to get hurt week 3 against Dallas or whoever they're playing. He's not going to make it. Their best bet, honestly, might be Tebow. It sounds stupid, but the guy finds a way to win, and he's going to fit that system better than either of the other 2. Bradford, not very mobile, going to get hurt, guarantee. Book it, lock it, put it away. It's done. He's hurt. It's going to happen early. Sanchez, we saw exactly what he did last year. He did not lead that team to the playoffs, and he hasn't done anything meaningful since he ran to his offensive lineman butt and dropped the ball for a touchdown 2 Thanksgivings ago. And I love Sanchez as a quarterback because he's so bad and he was on a rival team in the Jets. I have his Jets jersey because I collect jerseys and I'm a weirdo, and that's the one I got because it's the only one I can wear and enjoy it. But, okay, all that aside, I think their best option would honestly be Tebow. Not that I don't know if he's improved his skill set. I don't know if he can throw the ball better. But as far as toughness, just basically the overall fight he puts in, and the fact that he did get a playoff win, something that Bradford can't say.
There.
Sanchez hasn't seen the playoffs since his second year. But that being said, Bradford's probably the worst choice, but he's going to get hurt in week 3, like I said. So I would lean towards Tebow unless you can't trade for somebody else.
So what's your official Eagles depth chart ranking for the quarterbacks?
Oh, man. Well, what I think they're going to do and what I think they should do are different. What I think they should do would be Tebow, Bradford, Sanchez. What I think they're going to do is Bradford, Sanchez, Tebow. And I can't argue with them. Like I said, I think Bradford's the best quarterback of the 3. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Tebow fan. I don't think he's great. I'm not sitting here, oh, Tebow. No. I'm saying in that system, he might be the best one.
All right. So
I have an audible question for you, though.
Fire
on the topic of the Eagles. Did you see the story about the new Eagles jersey policy?
No, I did not.
If you are a fan and you buy an Eagles jersey, you now have the option to take insurance. So when they trade the player, you can switch it out for a new one if it's in a certain amount of time.
This is a legit story? This isn't out of the Onion? This is legit?
I believe it's a legit story because I saw it on the big network. So I believe it's a legitimate story. And if it's not, it's probably a good idea because oh, I got this. Oh, he's gone.
That was like four in the free agency palooza. There was like four major Eagles jersey that was basically deep six in about 2 or 3 weeks period.
Something like that.
So what is your audible question?
That was it. Have you heard about the?
Okay.
Any thoughts on? I mean that's a.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that's the first one though I could see with the Eagles. Are there any other teams other than the Eagles you think that would be applicable to, or?
The last time I heard anything like that was for the Aaron Hernandez jerseys, and that was specifically for him because he murdered people. And as much as me being a collector of jerseys, I kind of really want one because it's one of those things later in life it's going to be worth some money, and I understand it. I wouldn't wear it in public because I don't want people to think I'm a terrible person. But I kind of want one, but they're impossible to find. They've all been burned. They had to have been. But that's the last time I hear anything happening like that.
Two all Rays and Bo Sox all tied up.
Lightning still leading 1-0 more than halfway through the second.
I know. I tell you, with the way they play, you tend to need a defibrillator. So what do you think we can because I just realized we passed over, since we're talking all these quarterbacks, I have to use a bad pun, since we passed over the Bolts and hockey, just I know you sort of shifted your allegiances. The Sharks kind of had a bummer year. They've already had some off with their heads at the top management, and you shifted over to Lightning. So what a realistic expectations that Lightning can't not only get to the Eastern Conference Final, get to the Stanley Cup, but win their second cup.
They're very realistic, and I'll say this: Ben Bishop is one of the best goaltenders in the league. When you have superstars like Steven Stamkos, you have players that can basically run a team and lead a team by themselves. You're going to be in good shape. But then you get the scoring from the triplets: Kucherov, Johnson, and Palat. The best line in hockey, if you look at the plus-minus, because I think they were on the top 4 overall. Kucherov was tied for first with Pacioretty from Montreal, oddly enough, and then I think Palat and Johnson were 3-4. So you have players like that, and then you see that there's just a lot of great effort. You have people like Callahan, former captain of a team. Victor Hedman, I mean, they get all these good defensemen that are coming in and scoring now.
Coburn,
Strawman had the 2 goals in Game 7 against Detroit. They're legitimate contenders. The only thing that concerns you would be the age, because a lot of their players are very young. They haven't gotten into the playoffs very deeply. But I think someone like Tyler Johnson is going to be the breakout star of this NHL postseason. He's going to be not the face of the Lightning because Stamkos is there, Bishop is there. Hedman, to an extent, has that third tier face of the franchise kind of thing. But it could be Johnson after this postseason. But I think that's this core. If they don't win it this year, they're going to be around for 4 or 5 years, getting close. And if they don't win one, they're going to get that same kind of moniker the Sharks did. Can't win the big one.
All right, and with who do you think other than the Rangers, who's left in the East could present a problem?
Well, the only teams left in the East would be Washington or the Rangers. I don't have a ton of respect for the Capitals in the postseason because they've proven they don't get there. They have. They've been close, but they haven't gotten past the hump. Montreal, I think, is going to be where I thought would be the toughest test. Right now, if they lose this game, they're down 3-0, and maybe the toughest test ends up being the first-round series against Detroit because that was a brutal series, and that's because Mrazek stood on his head a lot. That being said, I think they fare better if they're playing the Capitals. However, there is an argument to be said about the Rangers. They played into June last year. They've had a full season plus this year. At some point, you just wear out. You get sore, you get tired. Now, I know these are elite athletes, and they don't get too worn out too easily. But I would kind of root to see the Rangers and the Lightning because you have the Callahan and St. Louis playing their former teams for a trip to the Stanley Cup Final. St. Louis, of course, the hero that helped bring the Cup to Tampa the first time. Him and LeCavalier were the 2 big ones with Javi Bulin. I would like to see that, but I think if you're a Lightning fan, you're rooting for the Capitals because you're a little more familiar with them. And I think there's the easier matchup. Holtby, I think, is the most inconsistent goaltender in the playoffs still, even though Calgary's now going with Kerry Ramo, a former Lightning player, I believe. But the Lightning's chances to win the Stanley Cup, I think, are probably the best of the teams left, with maybe the exception being Chicago. Chicago, of course, having won 2 of the last 4.
I remember that like double, triple overtime game like a couple of years ago. That was insane. Went like to 2 a.m. in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
They can play.
Eastern time.
Yeah, Eastern time. That's like when the next morning comes and you're like, even caffeine don't help.
Well, if you're playing this game tonight between Lightning and Montreal, you don't want it to go to overtime. You want to win in regulation because Game 4 is tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You have one day, not even a full day. You have 18 hours to recover if this game ends on time. You go to 3, 4 in the morning. Hello, tired legs in the morning. Hello, tired legs for the game. Hello, sloppy, possibly clinching game, depending on how the rest of this one finishes.
I know, so it could very easily be we could do to them the reverse of what they did to the Lightning last year. How sweet, or I should say how sweep, though I don't want to bring any curses down on the Lightning, it might be.
Well, the Lightning right now are 7-0, pending the results of today's game. 7-0 against the Canadiens all year. If they sweep the series and go 9-0, there's no doubt that the better team won the series. Even if they didn't win their division, the better team won the series.
Right. Any more with hockey? Because I know you wanted to try a new segment out called Quick Hitters.
Well, just real quick in the West, I'm really disappointed because I thought this was the year Minnesota was going to start stepping up, and it looks like Chicago's.
Sorry, West.
That's all right. Well, there's no San Jose. We usually go right to San Jose, and that's it. There's no San Jose. There's no LA for me to say sucks and I hate them and it pisses me off. There's nothing like that. It's a fairly tame Western Conference, really. If Calgary or Minnesota gets through, it's a team we haven't seen get there in a while. Calgary won their first series since they got to the final against Lightning in 2004 this postseason. The Ducks, I can't root for the Ducks, but, they're a newer team. They haven't been there in a while. I think the last time they've been there was 2007, 2008, something like that. And then you have Chicago, which, as much as they've won, they have a great organization, great team, great players, and you don't get the feeling of, man, they play the wrong way. For me, what rubs me wrong with the Kings, besides their arch rivals, is the way they play is a little bit on the dirty, I'm trying to hurt you side of things. That's not how Chicago plays, and you can respect the way they play. So, for me, I wish Minnesota was doing a little bit better. I was rooting for them. Calgary's still in that series, but they haven't won at Anaheim since 2006, so it's unlikely they would win that series because they have to win one at Anaheim to win it. Out west, I think it's going to come down to Chicago, Anaheim, and I think Chicago is going to be playing. For me, I think it's going to be Chicago, Tampa, which I know I have a buddy of mine who's a Blackhawks fan who lives in the Tampa area. He's going to be ecstatic, and I think his team's going to lose. But that being said, I think that's where we're going for the Stanley Cup final.
All right, now that sorry West, I didn't mean to totally slip past you here, but now let's try. I know you wanted to try the quick hitters.
Yeah, the segment name is going to be called This or That. I'm putting together a little graphic for you guys because I know you've earned it. You've been good today, right?
Yeah, this is cool because we're not used to being able to do graphics usually when it's all audio. So
yeah, it's a little learning curve. And now my screen just went away. Why are you doing that to me? Yeah, this or that, even though it has the wrong logo. That's okay. I'm going to leave it there. I don't care. All right. The concept of this is basically we're going to put 2 juxtaposing positions out there.
Word of the day.
Yes. So it's a college word. Yeah. We're going to put 2 juxtapositions against each other. And we're going to say basically which one we think is going to either be better or worse, depending on how we're phrasing of the question is. The first one I have is going to go back to I've already given my take on it, but Joel, kind of want to know yours. Between Winston and Mariota, who's going to be the better pro?
As much as I hate to admit it, just because of all the off the field stuff, Winston.
I think you're right if he doesn't do anything stupid. If he does something stupid, he's got a problem.
Ding ding for the whole does something stupid.
Yeah. Now, the question, maybe not straightforward.
You might want to repeat that because you're coming garbled. Enemy is jamming
Woo!
enemy is jamming our communications. Red 2. Repeat.
Oh, okay, hearing better, better. Can
Better.
you hear me? Okay.
See, we can't hear you now.
All right. The next question is, and this is again more for you than myself because my answer is a little different. And I love the space guy. I'm sorry, I'm just looking up the guy with the space suit for the Lightning games. Love him. Awesome. But for you, what would be a bigger deal if the Rays won the World Series or the Lightning won the Stanley Cup?
I would have to say, sorry, Bolts. No offense, but I really would have to say Rays winning the World Series because they got close before. Utter heartbreak with the Phillies series because I really think that they ended up leaving it all on the field. They just absolutely pressed down on the gas, gave it everything they had. Captain, the engines kind of take much more of this to keep play bases loaded. Joey Butler. Hopefully the Butler will do it again up in Boston against Masterson. It was apparently lasting a long time. But they ended up, the Rays left it all out on the field. They gave it all the gas to get past Boston in the ACLs. So I really don't think they had anything for the Phillies series. They were all just and it was so close. It's like, oh yeah, we have a whole nother series to play. It was almost like the ALCS for them was the World Series, especially with the way the division was stacked against the time. So that's why I think that it's going to be more that it would be a bigger deal if the Rays won the World Series as opposed to the Lightning going, oh, of course I would never mind having a second Stanley Cup at all. But the Lightning have been there before. It would be sweet again. But the Rays got so close. It's like they could taste it. They could see the buffet line. They were in the line, and then just as they were getting ready to go in, they were told, "No, I'm sorry, you cannot have any of this. No, coffee is for closers." And the soup Nazi told him that no soup for you. And so I really think it's a bigger deal for the Rays. I mean, as much it would be nice for the Bolts to get a deuce, but
I understand. I was thinking you would go that way just because the Rays have never won it. The next one is another one that I think is going to be a little more of a quick hit for us because I know we don't talk NBA often. But what would be the better story? What would be the better story? The Golden State Warriors winning the NBA title, something they've never really been close to in our lifetime, or LeBron winning it for Cleveland, his first year back in a town that's really never had a winner?
I would really have to go with the Golden State Warriors because LeBron, he's been there before. He already has 2 titles if memory serves correct.
Yep.
And it's like for him, it's like, I mean, I know it would be kind of nice he's going back to Cleveland, but oh my God, just the drama! I'm taking my talents to South
I'm going to take
Beach.
my talent to South Beach.
South Beach, Boston pitcher just got knocked out. Thank you, Joey Butler. Must have hit a 2-run home run. I think it's 4-2. Taking my talents to South Beach. I'm doing this. The long indecision. The who cares? And then he turns around and goes back to Cleveland. It's the Golden State Warriors deserve, I think, more just with, they've been playing out of their minds. They've been playing beyond expectations. And here's like LeBron, who always believes that he's almost like, before the season even begin, he thinks that, okay, I'm going to get another trophy yet again. You had the whole Kevin Love drama, llama, yabba dabba do thing. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm almost sick of LeBron. It's like, who cares where he goes? Back and forth, he's good, but it's like, are we, especially ever since he did the not 1, not 2, not 3, I'm kind of over LeBron. I know he's good at what he does, but like, dude, you need to be more humble. And that's why I think the Golden State Warriors, if they can pull off I don't know how much of a legacy they'll be remembered for other than the 1 year, but I would think that's a bigger deal than LeBron getting another trophy, having more drama. Oh, and where are you going to play next year? Are you going to be at the Cavs, or are you going to go somewhere else, or are you going to go to the Lakers? Just over LeBron.
Yeah, I think the better story is the Cavaliers, but that's a story I don't want to hear. I'm sick of him too. I don't like hearing about it. I'm tired of LeBron, and now he's got his own type of sprite. Like, it's just like, dude,
that's a change.
be a basketball player, just a basketball player for a little bit.
That's a change for you, because I know you actually used to like his audaciousness and him putting himself out there.
Not so much. It's not even what he does. It's more the way the story gets perpetuated for day after day after day after day after month after month after month, all year, every year, until the guy's gonna die or retire from the NBA or vice versa.
All LeBron, all the time.
All LeBron, all the time. All he does is, get talked about. LeBron. Oh, the Cavaliers lost. Why did LeBron do so badly? No, don't give credit to the team for beating them. Why did LeBron do it so badly? So I'm rooting for the Warriors, although I think the better story is LeBron winning for Cleveland, a town that's basically full of losers that's never won anything.
Ooh, yeah, especially with Manziel and having to go. He doesn't want to go to rehab. I say no, but he ended up going to rehab, and you have to wonder if his time in Cleveland is going to be like my height, short.
It very well may be.
So, yeah, quick hitter for you. How many more years setting the over under at 2 is Johnny Manziel still in Cleveland?
I'm gonna say over, just because I don't think there's another taker for him, and if it's under, he's gonna be out of the league. That's the only reason why.
Everyone kind of a little bit wary based on everything that's happened in Cleveland. Like, I'll pass.
Yeah, but that being said, if his talent is where people thought it might be at some point, and now he's got a clear head, maybe he's going to improve and he's going to be a great quarterback. I doubt it, but it is possible that, hey, now he's got his life more in the place it needs to be. He might be a better quarterback going forwards.
All right, and any more quick hitters? Even though I know I threw you one.
No, I think that's going to be good for today. It's we're flying a little bit by the seat of our pants, not getting a whole lot of prep today because we were playing with the tech, but
a little.
We'll be done with that one.
That one now. I think that's a keeper. Sounds like a good segment. I think it went well.
Yeah. We just got to do a little prep next time. That's all.
Prep? What's prep?
Talking about practice.
Not the game. Not the game that I go out and I live and die for and I give my all every day for. We're talking about practice. I know I'm not supposed to push that off. I know I'm the franchise player, but we're talking about practice. Practice? Sorry, that's one of my most iconic sound bites is like Allen Iverson. I have.
Oh, it is. It's one of the biggest ones in sports history.
Oh, that's right. Hang on. I have to find Press Hop on YouTube because that's featured. Maybe we could close out with that.
Maybe. I know we got final thoughts and all that still to do too.
Hang on. Let me pull that up here. Press Hop, because I know that. It's absolutely odd. Because that's sort of like the short version, because if I did the full Allen Iverson thing, people would probably like go fall asleep, I'm sure.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay. We sit here. I'm supposed to be franchise playing that stuff. Okay, sorry. That's sort of like one of those things that's like in your subconscious, like forever. Or what's one of the routines or rants in sports and general? That's sort of like like Allen Iverson is in my subconscious. Like what's one of the routines that's like in your subconscious?
Oh man, it's hard to beat that. But you got playoffs, and then you play to win the game. Those are two that come up a lot. But I think my.
Oops, sorry. I think
he hit a button and we got muted.
Okay,
you don't want to hear what I got to say, and I'm not going to say it.
Oops, sorry about that. Okay, back to you. What you're talking about playoffs and we play to win the game and all that. Sorry about the tech difficulties.
So I think my favorite one, and anytime nowadays, because I'm getting a little older. I just turned 26 last month, and I know I'm not old, but every time like someone now starts challenging me, I think of I'm a man. I'm 40. Like that, just more and more is becoming a something I think is really awesome. And so yeah.
Okay, but with the audibles as we go into final thoughts. End of second period. Tampa Bay 1, and Montreal Canadiens absolutely zilch show. So as we go into final thoughts, I believe. Do you want me to take that first, or do you want the possession arrow to point to you, Sir Flying?
You can go ahead and receive on this one.
All right, kind of something I touched on in the beginning. It's just always, in order to remember as much as we are into sports, is to never forget about everything else that's outside of sports. As this past week, we ended up reminding how quickly things can change, how they can go south, and all of a sudden you have the surreal story of happened of the Orioles playing the White Sox in a totally empty ballpark. Then we were all wondering, of course, what was going to happen with the Rays series, and they flip flop things around where the home series it was a home away. That was like I remember I put out on Twitter jokingly, the Rays win on the road at home. Wait, what? And just sort of just absolutely crazy that I remember kidding that so did the Rays get to use their dugout or they have to use the visitors dugout and the Orioles get to use the Rays clubhouse. And, you're kind of just kind of making a little fun of a serious situation. But I think it's always good to just kind of have to ask questions and don't forget the humor, even when times tend to get serious like that. But it was nice to see all of the support for Baltimore at the ballpark when they were down here. Everyone with all the signs and anyone who wore orange. And I know that the Rays play. Thank God I'm a country boy. A tradition usually that they do up in Baltimore, and it's just nice. It reminds us all that whether we're Baltimore Orioles, Tampa Bay Rays fans, or whatever team we're all human beings first, and to just never to forget that. We're as Mr. Spock, R.I.P. Leonard Nimoy. Weird to say that. As Mr. Spock would say, we're only human, and that's my final thought for tonight.
This is the first time we've done one of these since the passing of Spock. I mean that's crazy. I know you're probably a little more into the sci-fi than I am. At least some of the older stuff, like you would have seen Leonard Nimoy in. But it's one of those things you kind of appreciate just what he was to basically entertainment as a whole. Even though he was in the nerd films and people who watched him were dorks, anybody who doesn't know Leonard Nimoy had to have been living under a rock.
Pretty much.
I mean, it's just while we're just quickly on the topic, it's just he was he was Leonard Nimoy, and it's gonna.
And I know, because it's going to suck that with the new Star Trek, the Star Trek Beyond, I think is coming out. That was nice that he was the focal point crossing over into the new universe from the old, and he was kind of the cause. He was the cause of it. And then they had the brief part where he talked about Khan, of course, and Into Darkness. And it's going to be sad that he won't be able to even have a bit part in the third one, because it's totally trippy. Because for the longest time, I mean, I kind of put off seeing the new Star Trek, Ryan, because it's like it's weird seeing different actors with the characters that for the longest time, DeForest Kelly's McCoy, William Shatner as Captain Kirk, and of course Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock, and you have Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and everybody is just like, and then I watched it and I kind of saw a lot of the old characters brought to life by the new actors, and I was actually, I'm like, they you can tell they're paying tribute to it. It's just weird seeing different people play the characters that I always envisioned differently. Just a reminder that generations change from one on the other. There's a whole new set of Star Wars movies that's about ready to pop. That hopefully will be better than the last trilogy that came out was. Oh my God. Good. It's like any trilogy that has Jar Jar Binks as one of the characters in it, who eventually becomes like a senator. Oh Lord! But it's just kind of crazy. Ooh, Tampa Bay 4, Boston 2, end of the fifth. That's right, it's a Boston game, so that means it's about 7 hours left to go at the fifth inning. But just all of the icons out there in Star Wars, and I know I'm rambling, so I'm going to throw it over to you because I can see my internal. I'm flashing and I'm rambling. It's called warning. That's sort of like the robot, warning, danger, rambling, danger, Will Robinson, rambling.
Yeah,
So
we
toss it to you.
may do a movie podcast at some point because I think between you and I, we could actually do one. I think we could have a podcast on pretty much anything because we just don't shut up. We never said it would be a good podcast, but I think we could.
We'll call it the No We Don't Ever Shut Up podcast. How about that?
Yeah, something like that. I'm having actually a really hard time picking exactly what to do thoughts on because I have a few different topics. I mean, the Dolphins improving their team, I think, greatly over the offseason. Going next year, I think they have a legitimate chance to knock off the Patriots. I know people think I'm crazy because the Patriots are the Patriots. The changes in San Jose.
That takes a lot of balls to come up with that prediction, Art. with one of the stories of the day, Deflategate.
Yeah. And then you have the changes in San Jose. Of course, Tom McClellan will be out, and any possible changes are still coming. We still have some time. Of course, the playoffs still going on for hockey. So there's still a lot of offseason for all the teams left, but we'll see how that goes. But I think I'm going to go with the one I had a little blurb on our Facebook page of about the New York Islanders. And it's something that us as Rays fans probably want to pay attention to. Unfortunately, I think that's coming new too.
That's when you go like this.
Yeah. But when the Capitals knocked out the Islanders about a week ago at this point, the Islanders were no longer going to be on Long Island. It's one of the few true hometown teams in pro sports. I mean, you look at who else is there besides Green Bay that's really a community. It's not a city. It's not a state. It's not a big region. It's just a hometown little area, as my earpiece is annoying me. Yeah, but it's a hometown community, and it was a community that saw a great team in the 70s into the 80s that fell on hard times in the 90s and 2000s, of course, having owner for about a year that had no money. Of course, in 96, I believe it was. I don't know if you haven't seen that. ESPN does a great 30 for 30 called Big Shot. Check it out. The guy had no money, almost legitimately bought the team. Great story. Go check that out. I don't have time to go into it. And then this year, the last year, they finally get back into the playoffs. And it was unfortunate that they didn't have home ice against the Capitals, only for the reason that when it goes 7, that last game, the last game you might ever play for that community is played somewhere else. You don't have that I know I'm saying goodbye moment because they had Game 6. They won Game 6. They had their little thing, and you didn't know. There are fans there going like, no, they're coming back. We're going to see them again. They have tickets to Game 3 against the Rangers sitting there going, we're going deep this year. And those tickets are garbage. They basically could be thrown in the fireplace because they're never going to be used. They're moving to Brooklyn next year to go to the Barclays Center where the Nets play, when the Nets went from New Jersey to Brooklyn. And they're still being the Islanders, but you're moving from your fan base. You're moving from your community. The Rays, unfortunately, I think are going to be the next team to move, with the exception of whatever happens in LA with football, because that's going to happen. I think it's going to be San Diego and Oakland going to LA. But that's not unexpected. That's been expected for years. This Islander moves came up kind of last minute, and I think the Rays are going to be the same way just because we don't go to the games.
And the chances of the Rays getting out of that contract without paying $500 million are?
That contract's going to end at some point, and I want to say it ends in about 5 years, thereabouts. And that's when I think you'll start hearing that come up more and more about the Rays leaving, and you'll start seeing moves in stadiums and renovations being done to stadiums up in Montreal specifically. To try and get a team back there, because the Tampa Bay Rays just do not get the fan base. Even when they were going to the deep playoff runs in the World Series, the stands were not Rays fans the way – and I've gone to a couple playoff games with Lightning. They were playing Detroit. Detroit is one of the biggest teams, if not the biggest team in the NHL for a road market. It was 95% blue and 5% red, which that's impressive. You go to a Rays game, even in the postseason, you're maybe 60-40. For the Rays if you're lucky, but it's just unfortunate that they're going to lose the team because they just don't follow the team right.
If they didn't have that whole crazy contract and it wasn't having to move heaven and earth to try to move somewhere, do you think the threat may not be as prevalent?
I think if they didn't have the contract the way it is, they'd probably already be gone.
And who do you think the fault in the contract was when the team was initially bought, or just like who would the blame fall on for that ridiculous contract?
Well, it'd have to fall on the ownership who signed it, but also putting the stadium where they put it's not a good spot. I think one of the big things why the Lightning have such a good following is that they are in Tampa. They're not in St. Pete. They're not 45 minutes away. And St. Pete's really not a big area. There's not a lot of people that live there. It's a bigger city for Florida, but you compare it to Tampa, it's not as big. And you put that thing 45 minutes away, you get to travel. And then unfortunately in Florida baseball, even though we have all the spring training, it's not followed like it is in New England and New York, Boston specifically. Philadelphia, the stadiums are typically packed. Down here, people got other things to do. You have options. You go to the beach, you go to the movies, you go golfing, bowling, whatever you want to do, you can really do it in Florida. You go to Boston, there's some stuff you just can't do certain times of the year.
Yeah, you have to wonder if more people end up going to the Avengers than ended up going to baseball this week.
I would say that if you looked at the attendance for the Avengers this last weekend, you will have more for that first weekend in the U.S. than you have at a Rays game total all year.
Unfortunately, I could see that. So do you happen to have any final thoughts, or are you ready with some generic sponsors?
No more final thoughts. There's something I do want to kind of mention, but
Okay.
it's a real downer, and I don't know if I want to actually do it on air. So probably best is to go to generic sponsors.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll do this. We'll do this off air. Okay.
Yeah. Generic sponsors today would be technology for one, because obviously this is a first for us. I don't know even how long we've been doing it for this podcast, probably close to an hour, which for us is normal.
That's short time for us.
Yeah. I'm going to say technology is definitely a good one. Throat lozenges, because I've needed one. I've been coughing all day for whatever reason. Having the TV behind your screen so you can pretend you're looking at the camera when you're really watching hockey. That's a good one. That was a very good one. And I'm going to say school is a good generic sponsor, as I'm officially re-enrolled to go into a sports management field, which is going to involve some sports media relations type of things as well. So maybe I'll actually be good at this someday. If not for fun, maybe for something a little bit better. But generic sponsors for the day are going to be all of those and whatever craziness you've got in mind as well.
All right, definitely we'll have to agree with you for the technology, and also really super cool lower thirds, or definitely even ones that are way too busy. I did one off air, and I put up. I was like, sort of thought I was a little bit busy, and Brian was like, "Yeah, that's a little busy, but that's my personality." And just all sorts of really cool stuff that helps you to enhance your presentation. Also, alerts, definitely like alerts. So when you're multitasking and you can't necessarily watch the stuff because you're paying attention, it lets you know what's going on. And that's pretty much. Oh, and definitely caffeine. Definitely have to do a generic sponsor to caffeine.
Caffeine is pretty much always a generic sponsor. I hear noises in my ears. I don't know where it came from.
Is that a generic sponsor too?
Hear the voices in my head. Yeah. Anyways, we are about to the point where we wrap things up. So first and foremost, I do want to thank everybody who's checking this out for the first time digitally, if not the first time ever. Maybe having this platform is going to get some new viewers, new followers, whatever. We do have a Facebook page, it's Sports Shuffle, easy enough to find right now. It's got some Lightning stuff on there because, of course, they're in the playoff run. We're both on Twitter. I'm at ShuffleRyan13, not as active on it as I should be. I'm apologizing now. I have a lot of other things going on. Joel, is that?
Sports Shuffle.
Plain and simple. right there. So check us out on there. If you guys have any questions, comments, I guess we have a comment bar under this video once it gets posted. Or again, check us out on the Facebook page. You can get in touch with us directly. If you have any topics you want us to cover.
Or also sportshuffle@gmail.com.
Sportshuffle@gmail.com. That will go to Joel. I don't respond to the emails because I'm a lot less nice. I've been told. I don't know how true that is. I don't know. It depends on the email. If it's you guys suck, yeah, I'm not going to be pleasant. But constructive criticism is always welcome.
I guess I'm the good. I guess I'm the good cop. You're the bad cop.
Somebody has to be the good cop. I mean, I'm a goalie now. I picked up hockey. I'm a goalie. I'm used to making people's life miserable by not letting them score. I can't be the nice guy. It's not possible.
Shocker. Yeah. Rays failed to score after getting a runner in the third.
Yeah. But again, if you like this, pass this on to your friends. We love doing this for you. We're going to try and get this going regularly now we have the technology. Both of us having, this isn't something we do for fun. This isn't something we do professionally, of course, because we have to have real jobs. And like I just said, I'm going back to school. Scheduling is not always the easiest thing.
We tend to like running our mouths talking about sports, and we'll have fun doing it together.
Yeah, it's a good distraction from all the crap that goes on in the real world from day-to-day life. It's something just for fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy it with us. Again, if you guys have any comments, want to follow us more, Twitter, Facebook, send the emails. We're going to try and get some more platforms. We do have an app. I don't even know how to get to it. I have it on my phone, but we have an app out there so you can hear us all the time. I don't know how it's going to work with the video. You might be screwed if you have the app. Oh, I want to hear it. No, go online.
Yeah, because the video is actually not connected to the app. That's only audio.
And this may be redundant, but the name of our YouTube page, and I just set this one up. Is it Sports Shuffle or is it something else?
I think it's Sports Shuffle because you'll see the same caricature logo thingy with me in it, so you'll know it's that. I'll also post it on the Facebook page too.
Okay, so multiple ways to keep up with the Sports Shuffle, and thanks again for checking us out, and hopefully we sucked less than we usually do. And I'm going to let Joel take us out.
All right. Well, I look at it as I end up having fun, so that's a good sign that we didn't suck. And as I usually like to say, that's it for us. You are still you, unless, of course, you're somebody else, in which case, please seek help. And we are G to the O to the N to the N. I'm actually let DJ Steve Porter's Press Hop, which I unfortunately brought up a little bit earlier, take us on out, since we mentioned the whole Allen Iverson iconic rant. Right, Ryan?
Jameis Winston and your crab legs, go to your room.
Amen. All right. So cue DJ, and as soon as the video is done, I will punch the broadcast, and the live broadcast, which is live now, will go live. I guess. I don't know. Does that sound right?
I'm not sure if it's going live or it is live, but we'll find out because we don't know what we're doing yet. Woo!
All right, so here we go with DJ Steve Porter, and one of us two is going to go use the executive washroom. So here we go.